I was down to 188 pounds. So going from 327 pounds down to 188 for someone my size is really significant. But it took that oh shit moment to really get me into gear and think that way. So I really hope that anyone who's listening can take this and be like, even if their situation it like seems pretty like, oh well, I can never get that to change, oh that's going to be too much work, that no, you really can push yourself and accomplish what you think is unobtainable to do, right? um, but you can.
Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer.
Hello, my fellow impactful engineers. Welcome back to another episode. This episode is going to be kind of a part two. And I would say that part one was when Stephen interviewed me for that one thing that was getting in my way that I had to identify and then fix. And I hope that you were surprised with what it actually was that we were going to be talking about. I was thinking most people would probably assume that it was some sort of strategy or some sort of hack or something that I was doing that was along the lines of some sort of work productivity strategy, right? And so hopefully it was something that drew some attention to other areas of life that are very important to pay attention to and address. And they are just as big a part of being successful as an engineer as your training, schooling, and all your technical knowledge. So hopefully that kind of gave you permission to do the same thing. All right. I am going to interview Steve today, and it's along the same lines. It's one of those things that comes along, and I think Steve's story, it might be more of a smack to the face, a punch to the gut kind of a thing that he faced head on, made the right changes, did all the hard work, and it's now very easy for him to stay on the path that he needs to be on, and it's contributed to much of his success. So while it was probably a punch to the gut at first, and it sucks, it's now something very awesome. So I'll let Steve kind of give you some of the background and share his story with you.
Yeah. So it started, well, I guess really earlier on, it started when I was in school, right? I ate a lot of crappy food, right? Studying, to be an engineer, pizza, burritos, all the junk that most college students eat and drink. And, I went into the university weighing about 235 pounds, right? Which is kind of a normalish weight for someone who's my size. I'm right around 6'3", so it's a healthy weight for someone who's just kind of a big person, right? When I graduated engineering school, I was 310 pounds, and then I went into work and started out in aerospace, and it was like a real stressful, lots of hours type job. And, what do you do in situations like that? You don't have time to prep, good food. Well, I told myself I didn't have time to go exercise, that kind of stuff. So it even progressed to the point where I was 327 pounds at my heaviest. And, the first shock was, in my third year of aerospace, I did this big flight test week where it was 70 hours or so of work. I was pulling all-nighters, and I was out in the field doing flight testing with the helicopters and all that good stuff. And I got back home and instantly went on a road trip to go see a friend. Just not resting, not taking care of myself, eating road food, just junk. And by the time I got back home, I started that following Monday and went to work, and I just had this really big pain in my stomach area. And by the end of the day, I was in the hospital, and I was in the hospital for 4 days, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And but it was just like a health shutdown of my body. And I was like, okay, I need to get out of this situation. I am way overworked, way overtired. And so I went and found another job. But I didn't change habits, right? So I was still heavy. I thought it was just the work side of it. Fast forward a few more years. I was in Vegas for a trade show. A lot of people know it's called SEMA. It's just an automotive industry type trade show. And, when you're at these kinds of trade shows, you work all day and then you party at night, right? You go out to dinners, you talk to customers, you drink a lot, all that kind of stuff. So, and it's a week-long process. So I get back in kind of a similar scenario. I ended up driving all the way back to Arizona from Las Vegas. And then the very next morning at 6 a.m, I am on a Saturday after SEMA, I have a race. And so I'm out there in my car racing all day and just beating on my body, right? Physically. And that day, my mouth was super dry. I was drinking a ton of water, going to the bathroom a lot. And I was just like, what is going on here? So I went and saw a doctor. And the doctor was like, okay, we need to run a blood test to confirm. But I can tell you right now, this is the symptoms of type 2 diabetes. And at this time, I was about 315 pounds or so. So not quite my heaviest, but quite up there. This is in the end of 2015, I believe it was.
And probably what you heard was, I now have diabetes.
Yes, exactly. And so I got the blood test results back, and I didn't quite have type 2 diabetes, but I had what they call pre-diabetes, right? And, like one of the markers is your A1C, your glucose blood levels. And, that was at, I think it was 6.1 or 6.2, something like that. And so the nurse practitioner that I saw at my follow-up appointment was like, okay, you are pre-diabetic, which means you have an opportunity to make some significant changes in your life. And you will be able to control it without having to do insulin, without having to do all this extra stuff that people who develop full type 2 diabetes will have to deal with. And I was like, okay, what do I have to do? And she was like, well, you have to limit carbohydrates and you have to exercise, and this takes a lot of discipline, a lot of time. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. And most people, like doctors and people who hear people say, okay, I'll do that to fix everything, they go, yeah, right. Yeah, whatever. You'll be on a pill and shots eventually. But it just built a fire, kicked me in the ass. And I was just like, I need to fix this because I do not want to go down this road. And so I started working out 5 days a week. At this time that was huge for me, right? 5 days a week, I would go to the gym, and I would, and then she told me to eat a keto diet to start with, just to shock my system. And so I was down to like 40 grams of carbs a day, which is nothing. Just all fat, all protein. And I just hit that regiment insanely hard and was so determined to make those changes that I ended up losing 90 pounds in 9 months, which is, on average 10 pounds a month. Right. And so it's a pretty consistent and progressive, declination of weight loss. And she was amazed. She was like, holy crap. Like I came in like a 3-month follow-up and she's like, wow, you're looking pretty good. And then we did like a 6-month follow-up, and I came in those 6 months and she's like, holy crap, you do not look like the same person. And it's like, I don't feel like the same person. So we did blood work again, and I was already in the high fives, right? I was like 5.8 or something like that. And I kept going. And around that time, I ended up getting down to, I think it was 212 pounds. And by then, my A1Cs dropped below the pre-diabetic like entrance level, right? So it was like a 5.4. And she's like, you like basically controlled, not quite reversed, but like controlled pre-diabetes, and you are not pre-diabetic anymore.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But to tie this into my career, is I shifted my mindset, right? It wasn't just, oh, everything's good enough. It ended up changing my perspective of like, I always want more. I want to be better, and I need to make sure that I'm doing anything and everything that I can to put me in a better place. And so at this time, I was an engineer for 5 or 6 years, and it was pretty stagnant of where I was, right? I was like making the same pay, doing the same things. I was good at what I did, but I wasn't elevating myself at all, right? Just doing the same. Raises were just the typical merit type raises. You have a couple percent, and just kind of floating through the process of my early career. As soon as I made that shift on my health side, it started showing up on my professional side. And then, I started listening to other podcasts with like personal development and health and fitness and all that kind of stuff. And that coupled with my drive to lose weight and maintain a healthy lifestyle really changed how I approached just my life, my career, and everything else that was put in front of me. And then I got that first big promotion. And they're like, yeah, you're just kicking ass, and you're accomplishing things that we never thought you would accomplish, right? And so I became a manager shortly after that time, and ever since then, it's just been going up, going up, going up, going up in terms of how much success I've had in my professional career, but also in my health, right? I mean, at one point, I was down to 188 pounds. So going from 327 pounds down to 188 for someone my size is really significant. But it took that oh shit moment to really get me into gear and think that way. So I really hope that anyone who's listening can take this and be like, even if their situation, it like seems pretty like, oh, well, I can never get that to change. Oh, that's going to be too much work. That no, you really can push yourself and accomplish what you think is uncomfortable. I can't even talk right now. Like you like you think it is unobtainable to do, right? But you can.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. You're pretty good at this. You make the interview portion of this of my job pretty easy. You should probably start your own podcast and share this stuff. That's really good. I had some stuff in between there, but I just let you keep going. I mean, it's a powerful 12 minutes right there. I hope that sinks in for a lot of people. I mean, Could you imagine? I mean, I can hardly imagine what my viewpoint of the impossibility of this thing. And I just got told that I'm going to be a diabetic. I'm stagnant at work. I'm overweight. I know, I'm not going to body shame people, but that you're overweight and that you wish it was different. It's hard to get around. Your feet hurt more than they should, right? You want to fit better in your clothes, stuff like that. So it's there. Most people want that, right? They would welcome that change, but it just doesn't happen for a long time based on your mindset and facing that impossible climb. But to be in the hospital and have someone tell you, like, look, you're pre-diabetic. You need to make some significant changes or this isn't going to go well for you. Or at least you're going to be very tied to needing medication, and a regimen around medicine in order to regulate your body and how it responds to food, right? So when you first heard it, was it really like, shit, I'm turning it around right now. Like, screw this. This is it. I'm over it, and there's no going back. I'm beating this. Was that your mindset?
It was. I mean, it's weird because up until that point, I was never that person. I was always the person like, oh, it's not that big or bad. I'm just big boned. I look fine. I carry my weight well. It spreads evenly out throughout my body. etc. And no one had the nerve to tell me straight up, like, except for my grandmother, like, you're fat. You need to change. I never got that kind of direct, candid conversation except from her. So I put it off as like unimportant, right? To my overall success in life, right? Whether it be career or personal. And I was married, and so I had a good relationship, and like when our wedding pictures, I'm 310 pounds, and now it's like I don't even want to hang those on the wall because it's like that's not even me anymore, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's not that you are particularly ashamed. It's just you're different now, like fundamentally a different person, mindset wise and body wise.
Yeah,
and kind of
yeah.
It changed. I mean, it changed you a lot. I saw it happen, and to see you from your heaviest and then to come see you after you dropped all that weight, and it's just like, I mean, the whole family was like, oh my God.
Oh, like, I know.
Like, this is crazy. Look, you're a completely different person. So yeah, I understand the dramatic change that it was. But just to tie it back, not only did you there's a lot of complications that can come with diabetes, right? And I know everyone's aware of that. Not only did you reverse that or kind of keep that from happening, right? You've discovered what it means to your career, to your success, to your happiness, to a lot of other factors, to be healthy and to have that mindset shift, which shows up through your physical being, your physical body, as being fit. You digest really well. You can move. You have energy to do all these things, and you have a clear mind. It's just very important that everybody make that realization that as engineers, we're sitting on our asses all day. You get out to the field all you want, but most of the time you're going to be sitting in an office, working the software, working emails, having phone calls, having meetings, all that kind of stuff, and you're just sitting and kind of wasting away. So you've got to be able to implement, and you can talk a little bit about your routine too. I want you to hit that, what you do every day. But you've got to get into it. You've got to get that routine, and Steve will share that. But yeah, they've said, sitting is the new smoking or whatever. I've heard that for years, but I mean, it's kind of true. You're just deteriorating sitting there. It doesn't take a whole lot, really, to get out of that or keep that from having adverse effects on your body. But yeah, so walk us through. How about you walk us through a typical day before, and then a typical day nowadays?
Yeah. Real quick before I get into that, before I lose my train of thought.
Sure.
One of the things that getting in shape does for you is it changes your level of confidence, right? And confidence comes from, keeping your own word to yourself, right? So you say you're going to start doing these things, and then you do it, and you see the results of that, and that builds your confidence. And that not only builds your confidence just in your presence and like your conversations with people and like how they view you, but just in your work. And everyone is going to take you a lot more seriously especially when they see the changes, because they're like, oh, this guy will absolutely do anything it takes to get the job done. But it just bleeds into everything, like that level of confidence. So, there's a lot more to it than just losing weight and being healthier. It's your mindset and your psychological presence. Even like that aura that other people sense about you changes.
Hey, my fellow impactful engineers. If there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, is to keep listening to the podcast, but also if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. If you are overweight plus you have those conversations with yourself or the thoughts, man, I need to lose weight. Man, I wish I was in better shape. I shouldn't be eating all this crap. If you have those mental battles with yourself, you owe it to yourself to do something about it, to get that confidence that Steve is talking about, and to have that change. You don't want to go through your life having that mental battle with yourself constantly and then never do anything about it. It's the worst thing you can do. So if you're completely overweight and you don't like the way you're moving and your body hurts, but you're just fine with that, which I don't really believe, but if you are, then that's okay. This conversation is not for you.
Yeah, no one is truly happy being in that state.
I wouldn't think so, based on how many people I've talked to about it that have been real, right? But if you do have those conversations with yourself, you owe it to yourself to figure it out. Figure out how to get your mind right and how to get into that mindset to execute on that and make those things become a reality and boost that confidence like Steve's talking about. So highly encourage that you take the first step and that you reach out for help or just dive into that, either the health side of it, the eating, the food and everything, but also the mindset. Hit it hard. Figure out how people are cracking this code to flip that switch before something does it for you.
Yeah,
sure.
So
hey, give us a routine.
Yeah, so I'll start with before, right? So I remember I always thought, eating oats and cereal and all this other stuff and bread and all that was super healthy for me, and so I would just layer it on. I would have toast, potatoes, and a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, that kind of stuff. It's just loading it up. I would have, sandwiches, burritos, just anything and everything that was quick, easy, accessible, and, inexpensive to purchase. Whatever I could find in the pre-prepped aisles of the grocery store, fast food places, anything that was just convenient, right? That was the kind of food I was eating. There wasn't any exercise, so I can't even give a routine there because there wasn't any. I would just wake up. I would take a shower and eat a big breakfast, drive to work, eat a snack when I got to work, and then do my work for, until lunchtime, go out and eat with the guys and, have a big old lunch, and then go back to work, have another snack in between, and then drive home and have dinner, and then have another snack before bed, and then just sit around, play video games or watch TV and that kind of stuff. So, obviously hobbies has always been working on cars. So I would do that, but that's not really a physical thing that benefits you physically. It's just, that's what occupied my time. That was the only thing that was productive, right? Everything else was just consuming. So that's really what led to the condition that I was in. Nowadays, first thing I do when I get up is stretch and I go for a walk. I don't have to run. I don't have to go crazy in the cardio. I just walk, and it could be 15 minutes if I'm short on time. I try to do half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. But I just walk, a brisk pace, keep my heart rate up between 100 and 120. But, I'm not running because it's always been bad for my knees because, when I was heavy, I destroyed my knees. And then I just have a high protein breakfast. And I just manage carbs. Now, I'm not a keto person. I still have 100 to 120 grams of carbs a day, but that's about it. And it's just a high protein diet, about 100 grams of fat, 100 grams of carbs, and the rest is all protein. And, I usually live by the rule of a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, right? Which is between 180 and 200 pounds. So that's what I shoot for. I also do cold showers because that shocks your nervous system. It's really good for you. And, I've said this before on the show that when I wake up, I don't do the social media, the emails and all that kind of stuff for at least a half an hour, if not about an hour. I mean, just going for my walk first thing cuts out that half hour instantly. And then I usually take my shower and all that kind of stuff. And then I will look at my phone. So I think that puts you in a good mental state, right? Because you're not thinking of what's the latest fire from work, what's the big emergency, what issue is my cousin Karen thinking of, whatever. It's all I do is I think about what I'm doing in that moment, right? Cold shower, walking, etc. Or I'm thinking about what I'm grateful for, how I want to attack the day, that kind of thing. And so I put my frame of mind into something of how am I going to kill it today and what am I thankful for? And that's it. I'm not worried about anything else. And then I look at my emails and social media if I'm, if it's a weekend or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my phone and then gotten into either social media or like, what am I doing today? Just looking at my calendar at work, or what are my assignments today? And it will at times throw you off. You'll get some bad news, or you'll get reminded of something that you think or perceive as a huge deal. And then it's like, oh, all of a sudden breakfast is thrown out the window because I want that extra half an hour, which is a complete fallacy. It's like, be calm. I love that one. Don't look at the phone. And just do a little bit of exercise, do some stretching, eat a great breakfast, have a good start to your day. Think about what you're grateful for, and then let the shit show begin.
Yeah.
Let the stuff come, let life show up. But for that first hour and a half or so, that's prime time. You do not want anything to make that change into, oh, we need to get ready real quick and then get out the door, and then I'll have an extra 45 minutes to address this really important thing. Well, then you skipped breakfast, or you cut your workout short. You're not thinking about what you're happy about or what you're thankful for, and you've kind of set a bad tone for the rest of the day. So I love that one. That's very good, and I hope people will just start implementing that right away. Stay away from anything that connects you to the outside world.
Yeah.
Do stuff for you.
The first light that should hit your eyeballs really should be the sun coming up, right? And the last light that hits your eyeballs should be the sun going down, or you turning off whatever light is next to your bed, because it's just good for putting you in a good sleep cycle, right? And overall just sets you up for a better day. So that's something I always try to do is, if I can, I do my walk right when the sun's coming up, and then same thing in the evening. If the sun's going down, if I'm able to, I'll take the kids out. Let's just go for a little family stroll for 15, 20 minutes, and I mean, I see it even in the kids. If we go for a walk when the sun's going down right before bed, they sleep so well that night, because it's like the circadian rhythm. It just puts it right in alignment. So I encourage anyone and everyone to utilize just the natural sunlight to put themselves in the right circadian rhythm and just the right routine that way, and keep all your phone activity when the sun's up.
Very hard to do.
It is. It's incredibly hard.
It is super hard. But
yeah, it's a lot easier in the morning for me than it is in the evening. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I knew the story, but amazing story. I hope someone is inspired by that today. If there was something that you could give someone to do that they could execute on right away, maybe a small step or some small change to their routine that you think is highly effective, whether it be drink more water or plan out a meal or whatever it is. What's the one of the things you think would get someone on the right track? I know it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Honestly, like one of the easiest ones to do that made a huge impact for me: stop drinking soda. And I know you don't like to hear that one.
I think that might be easier than stop drinking alcohol.
It might be, but that was a huge, significant change in how I felt, was when I stopped drinking soda.
And that's regular soda because of the 40 to 45 grams of sugar, right?
It's any of it.
No
I haven't
diet.
had a soda in 6 years.
Wow. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yep.
The tough ones lead to change.
Yes.
So go out and make a change and get it done.